Hello, thank you for joining us once again. Yes, we're still covering the sixth key driver of enterprise competitiveness, which is laws and policies that facilitate competitiveness. Important to note during this training topic is that in order to enrich young entrepreneurs, increase market for local produce, and empower local skilled labor, we need favorable laws and policies in the various sectors. Listen in to find out the different ways laws and policies affect industries. Enjoy!
Therefore, if a trader and exporter has an order, they really need to de-risk their entry into that market with insurance and credit fund, in which he or she can contribute, because if you ask us as exporters, we will contribute, along with government. If government brought 45% of this fund, and the participating exporters and traders under their trade associations, the Sugar Association, the Beef Association, the Dairy Association, the Poultry Association, if the Fresh Vegetables Association, if these trade associations are asked, they will contribute something, and the government contributes something, and then we would have a mechanism to bring banks to participate in this. Now, we think that to not have a policy that drives this kind of fund is to shoot ourselves in the foot if we want to grow our export base and diversify our markets and avoid the troubles that we have had in some of the regional markets. So as I conclude, I would like to ask a $1 million question and see if I can work with you to find answers. What might be the cause of this disjointedness in thinking and practice in the three examples I've given in the IT sector, the food sector, credit support and finance sectors? I'm going to try and hazard an answer, and I ask you to think with me. I think that we need to look at the relationship between the state and society, the very relationship out of which a good public service cadreship should emerge. In the last 36 years, the movement has built a strong state from ground up, with popular support, significant support of the population. You check this in how intelligence gathering by security is done. Intelligence comes from civilians who offer it willingly to government. You look at it, the respect that the population has for security services. You see these relationships and you know something has been built. This strong society-state relationship was demonstrated even more strongly under the coronavirus pandemic lockdown, because I remember seeing the president, his words and messages were listened to across the country, they were respected, they were adhered to, and like many developed and developing countries where leaders making pronouncements were taken lightly and the spread of this disease intensified. So why have we not utilized this relationship to build a strong cadreship in the public service to force better performance in the economy and in other sectors of our country to support young people's businesses? Why? I suspect this comes down to politicizing, in quotes, almost every action, including those actions that really don't need politicizing. Actions on trade, actions on systems and performance don't really need to be politicized because they affect all of us. Now, I'm not blind to our history and where we've come from. I can understand the question of a fragile, still fragile society that is often built on ethnic and religious sentiments, a society that has not yet transformed to see one vision for the future, to see one dashboard. A society of that nature, you find leaders walking on eggshells on almost every decision. Wrongdoing tends to hide behind platitudes and masks of tribe and religion, and that offends many young people who need a functioning system, regardless of who is in government or who is running the key institutions of state. We must therefore rethink the state institutions and their relationship with the broader society and what we see as goals and collective values together as Ugandans. Wrong should be treated as wrong, regardless of who did it. And right should be celebrated, regardless of who made it. When a society comes together on these basics, that society is on its way to change. But it takes a few leaders to keep the principles. So I ask you young people to lead the way. The second answer I would like to hazard, really the second source of explanation of why we are not united around young people's businesses, yet we have strong state-society relations, is perhaps the relationship between the state and companies, the state and farms, and the state not knowing what to do to promote these farms, knowing that the future of the country is in the productivity of these farms. Farms, I mean FIRMS. Now, the late Ali Mazrui, the Mombasa-born lecturer who taught at Makerere in the early 1970s, and I've quoted him extensively early this year in my earlier podcasts, he says that one of the reasons many Africans are biased against enterprise and creativity and business is the risk it carries and the opposite attractiveness of the security of jobs in the public sector. So they look at risk, they look at comfort in the public sector. He thinks that because of so much struggle to get children to school from poor societies and communities, getting a stable government job, regardless of whether this job will bring out the potential of a child, is a safer bet for many families. Well, can't disagree with him. I have seen it too. Our communities, and this is shifting a little bit, our communities tend to honor those who work in the public sector and tend to disregard the business people, or those who work with their hands from vocational institutions, they tend to treat them as less educated. This is one of the reasons why vocational institutes are not appetizing for many parents. It is also why every region is craving for a university instead of fighting for a government technical school in that community. Because of this, some of us civil service leaders do not have a strong relationship and an understanding of business. Yet business is what pays the salaries of government. Business is what finances all capital and recurrent expenditure for the country. This brings me to the question. I go back to where we started from. Did we have the thinking and the necessary capacity to look ahead in 1998 when we privatized the telecom sector? Probably not. We were consumed with privatizing everything and getting rid of corruption in state enterprises and lessening state involvement. We were focused on that. We had no thought of the future needs of the economy in the IT sector, a sector which today affects defense, food, finance, and many other areas of life, as I mentioned before. Yes, we have increased the stock of goods and services and the asset base of the country in the last 36 years. This is good. But the next leap requires rethinking the relationship between the state and business and reinventing the state and society relations, mere politicking and treating wrongdoing with kid gloves, to doing the hard things together as government and communities in order that we can stop the hemorrhage in foreign exchange and create the millions of jobs the youth need to stay and remain productive in their country. Please join me in thinking and in actions for Uganda as we help young people build enterprises and institutions that serve us all, as we build the necessary culture change and incentives for these enterprises. Our over-reliance on FDI, foreign direct investment, and transnational capital for the last so many years to grow sectors like coffee processing, sectors like computing, sectors like steel, which require heavy investment, even oil refining. These sectors require large outlay of installed capital. Our experience has taught us that transnational capital will not build for us the economy we need. Yes, it helps, it has helped us, it has led us somewhere where we are today, but we need the unit of the state and enterprise to convert the next level of energy, the next level of thinking of young people, the next level of resources and action in order to move forward. The current contradiction between overt statements about supporting indigenous capital and farms, yet we do not demonstrate the similar resoluteness to solve the attendant weaknesses that we see in the quality of institutions that support businesses, the poor decision making that we often see, the low budget support for farms, all these tell us that we are not yet there. We are heavy on words and little on action. There's a big gap between stated intentions and the actions we see in this area. Let's keep thinking and working and change policies and laws to support enterprises to grow. Have a good weekend and see you here next week.
Would like to hear from you. Please email us at info@tapmedia.com and visit our website at www.tapmedia.com. You can also visit our offices located at Tomosi Business Park, Luzira, Port Bell Road, or call 0414 220 702. Thank you.